All right, we are finally live. What's going on, everyone? And welcome back to yet again another edition of what I hope is your favorite baseball show here on YouTube, 27 Outs Live. That is, I, of course, am Ivan, and as always, alongside my brother, aka my baseball partner in crime, Mr. Stefan himself. So, for those of you who are tuning in right now, as you can see by the title of tonight's video, we've decided to give the previews of the divisions a little break. We've done 3 so far. So, for those of you who haven't checked those videos out, make sure you go ahead and do exactly that. We're going to get back to it because obviously we still have about a month left until opening day. So, we still have plenty of time before we get into the other divisions that we haven't touched on just yet. But Stefan, before I pass it over to you and you take the lead, actually, I should say, I just want to say 2 things. First of all, I want to start off tonight's show by shouting out everyone for getting our previous show to 100 views within less than 2 days. Stefan and I did notice that, and I wanted to make sure that you guys got the acknowledgement that I would say you guys deserve. So shout out to all of you who participated in just viewing the video, giving it a thumbs up, being a part of the chat during the live show. We always appreciate it, as I say. And 2, I'm going to get, well, both of us actually, we're going to get more into this later tonight. But TikTok, you're going to hear more about that, how you guys could find us as well. But we are also on TikTok now. So, Stefan, how are you feeling?
I'm
Where would
good.
you like to start? Anything else you want to sprinkle on top?
Real quick, before we move on, the TikTok is gonna have exclusive content that the Instagram will not have. So if you want exclusive content of what the behind the scenes of the show looks like beforehand, you know what I mean, or how we prep, or what we, you know what I mean, how we choose to put this thing together, follow us on TikTok. We got some exciting stuff coming for you guys, and so give us a follow. We can get more into that in a little bit, but listen, man, let's start with the New York Mets and the 2 pitching injuries, because I think this is a very vital conversation to where I want to take this first half of the show. And the reason why that is because let me just tell you this right now. I look at these injuries, bro, and I'm saying to myself, maybe this is the reason why David Stearns didn't want to pay for a pitcher for over 5, 6, 7 years, because you want to mitigate the risk. Now, I guess injuries are going to happen. It's part of the game. You can't stop it. But I kind of understand his logic of why did they not want to do this, right? Why did they not want to go and get starting pitchers at the high end of the market? And the only thing I can think of is look at the injuries they've already suffered in camp. And imagine if they had spent the money on a Burns. Imagine if they would have spent the money on a Snell. Imagine if they would have spent the money on somebody who was high profile, but who got hurt right out of the chute. How it would have looked. Now, I got to ask this question. I would have thought that Frankie Montas was a risky bet. As soon as they made the signing, I would have thought that was a red flag.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So my question is like, if you're trying to mitigate the risk, how do you sign somebody like a Frankie Montas, who for the last 3 years of his career has not been on the field? Like, and when he's on the field, he hasn't been that effective. Is it me, or has yet that thought crossed your mind at all? Because I'm just curious.
No, you're right. For me, I like to go back to the run that the Mets went on last season. Obviously, being other than the Dodgers, but being able to go up against the Dodgers in the NLCS, I thought that was huge for them, and how the second half turned out, as we all know. But the moment the season ended, I had 2 things in mind going into the offseason for the Mets. We already talked about it before, the deal actually became official, Stefan. We had Soto going there all along. The other thing that I thought they were going to do was at least snag one of those free agents that you just mentioned. And I get it. It's very risky. And I know that's not where the Mets are at least not right now. That could obviously change if the right name comes along. I mean, you're going to have no choice but to give them literally whatever they're asking for. But in this case, Frankie Montas was their answer, and so was Clay Holmes. And, since the moment they signed both of those guys, I never thought it was going to be enough because coming into 2025, now I get Kodai Senga, for example, is okay for now, but even he was hurt for a majority of last season. So he's not even a guy who you could bank on either. So I kind of feel like they've put themselves in a tough situation, at least right now, to start the season. But I'll tell you one thing. They're going to have to do something. There's no way you feel this confident enough going up against what could be that Dodgers team yet again with the rotation that you have, even if all of these guys were healthy. Hell to the no.
So here's the thing I'll tell you, right? You mentioned something that a couple minutes ago where you said eventually they're going to have to give one of these guys whatever they want. I don't believe this particular general manager is going to live that way. I don't think David Stearns is ever going to cave into the idea of giving a free agent pitcher whatever he wants. I think it's going to come with conditions. I think they're going to continue to play it this way, especially when you hear Steve Cohen talk about the idea of shrinking payroll. To some degree, he knows, listen, as rich as I am, I can't keep this payroll up like this forever. But this is why they need the young arms like the Scotts and the guys that Christian Scott, the guys that they're hoping and depending on to come up and be vital pieces for them. You're hoping that Paul Blackburn bounces back this year. You're hoping that Kodai Senga has a bounce back year. You're hoping to get something, from a David Peterson, because at some point, I just don't see him mitigating the risk with a 6-7 year deal for a pitcher unless, and this is the only unless, it is Paul Skeens. Everybody else, I don't see.
Right.
I don't see him doing it for the pitchers that are even coming on the market. You know what I'm saying? I don't see him playing in that part of the pool, because the one thing that I found curious is, like, Corbin Burns, like, you drafted him. You were there in Milwaukee when he was there in his prime. Like, why aren't you going back to that and at least assessing whether he's a fit for the Mets or even a fit for whatever it is you want to do? And I'm just sitting there going, you know what? It seems as though, to me, that both sides know that New York is not a fit. And that's the thought of that is just like interesting to me, because I'm sitting there going, you didn't even investigate this? You didn't even kick the tires? And maybe, like Rick has told us, shout to Rick, he said maybe, David Stearns knew more about Corbin Burns than he'd like to admit, because he was the general manager that was with him in Milwaukee all of those years. Maybe that is true. But at some point, like you said, and I'm bringing it right back home, if you're going to spend money on the Sotos, if you're going to spend money on the top-end offensive talent free agents, you have to do the same thing for pitching.
Right.
Like, at some point, the pitching has to match with whatever the offense is trying to achieve. And I just feel like the pitching is really short, especially now with these two injuries. Now you might have to deplete some of that depth and go get a Dylan Cease, a Michael King. See what happens in Seattle midseason. You might have to go get a Luis Castillo or somebody of that ilk to augment some of the injuries and some of the ineffectiveness that you might see from this rotation. And by the way, you know what it also does too? It puts a lot more pressure on that bullpen that they reshaped.
Yeah.
They reconfigured. I think the bullpen's going to be better. But when you overuse a bullpen, they become human beings. Like, they're not as effective, especially down the stretch. So I'm wondering, like, Christian Scott's going to miss all of this year. He had Tommy John. He might be back maybe late second half.
Yeah.
Like, you got to hope that the guys you have in there, like the Tyler McGills, the Paul Blackburns, those guys are able to eat some innings. You know what I think they did? I'm surprised they didn't do? That you didn't bring back Jose Quintana. Jose Quintana is still sitting out there.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, I heard you mention some of the names that the Mets could eventually get. If not now, then maybe perhaps by the deadline. And I kind of feel like Jose Quintana is probably going to be the NSAID, or should I say the Band-Aid on the wound for now. He's cheap. Obviously, he's up there in age. I think he's maybe 36, 37 years old. Had a hell of a season, I would say, for his age last season with the Mets. But could you really count on a guy to do that yet again, considering the age, considering how long he's been in the league for now? Now, I know Quintana is certainly not going to say no once his phone rings, but that is not going to be the move that we're talking about. But
Now,
if it's what you could do for now, then I say make that move for Quintana. Yes.
I got a move that's going to have everybody like, what the hell did he just say? You know who I'm going to get? Trevor Bauer. He was not convicted by the court of law. He was not. They didn't find any wrongdoing, whatever he did. Trevor Bauer right now can help a big league club.
Of course. Well, here's my question to you, though, Steph. And I feel like a lot of people are probably maybe they've already answered it themselves, or maybe it's still something that they're wondering, like myself. But it's been a while now. Do you think that and you never know, this world is always changing, especially with the internet nowadays. But do you really think we'll ever see Trevor Bauer play at the big league level? Now, he's clearly been showing over the past couple of seasons now that he's able to do it damn near all across the world, Mexico and wherever the hell he's at now.
Right.
So he's still playing against some talent. In fact, he plays against some of these guys during the winter who are big leaguers and tend to go to like these other countries to continue to stay in shape.
I mean, that's up to Major League Baseball. That's up to Rob Manfred. But the thing that I find hypocritical about this argument is you won't let him pitch in the big leagues, but Aroldis Chapman, who shot a gun and who basically had his girlfriend at gunpoint, is in the big leagues.
Right.
Make it make sense to me.
I remember, I forgot the year to be exact, but Jose Reyes, who I'm sure we all remember.
Right.
Jose Reyes during his playing days. I don't know what exactly happened between he and his wife, but I recall there being a situation, and he's another guy who I guess got a second chance, if you want to call it that, and people acted as if like nothing happened.
But this is the thing, like we can't have it both ways, as if the moral police is we're supposed to be on the side of the moral police when, this is about winning baseball games and this is about entertainment. I know everybody wants to say, well, we got to have morals and standards, which is true. To the 8 people watching, what's up, man? Welcome to the family. Join the conversation. Hit a like, hit a follow, hit a share. I find it interesting that Trevor Bauer is not in the big leagues, and yet Aroldis Chapman's in the big leagues with the Red Sox on his 3rd team since this thing happened with the Yankees. And I'm just like, make it make sense for me. You heard? Like, make it all make sense for me, because we're sitting here having a conversation as to you need help and you need help now. And here's the thing. Everybody in the big leagues knows you need help. The Padres know it. The Mariners know it. Everybody that has pitching to spare, they know you need help. So you know what they're going to do? They're going to be like, well, since we know you need 2 starting pitchers, you need to come off 2 of your best prospects, and you need to do it if you want to get this deal done.
Right. They're gonna want to jack the prices up.
Right. So it's like supply and demand, right? It's like everybody's going crazy over the egg prices right now. You know how you stop that? You don't buy eggs. You feel me? Like,
yeah, eggs are crazy, by the way. I think it's been getting better little by little. But I remember it being a time where like you couldn't walk into a place without it being like $10 or something.
Yo, in New York, eggs at $10.49 right now, my boy.
Sheesh.
But I'm just saying, I'm using that as the example of supply and demand. You need pitching. The league knows you need pitching. And the reality of it is, they're not going to do you any favors. Cohen's a billionaire. The half of the sport doesn't like that this dude spends money the way he spends money. So they're not going to do you any favors by giving you any sweetheart deals. The question I would have for Met fans is like, yo, are you prepared for a rough 2 months? Because Sean Manaea, that's no bleak. Those things don't heal fast. He's going to be down for a nice hot little minute before he figures out, can I pitch with this or not?
I know in the case of Frankie Montas, they've already said like you could forget about him for 2 months. Definitely.
I'm going to take it a step further.
You think he's not coming back to what, midway through the season? Here we go.
I'll see you in August.
Really? I mean, I believe it, especially when you think of the type of play and who, to be exact, who we're talking about as well.
And because I'm just talking about his injury history and the track record of his
Right.
injury history.
Right.
And now you're talking about a lat, which is going to affect how he pitches, is going to affect how he gets into his rotation, is going to affect everything. And now you expect a dude to come out here, be super healthy for as long as he's on a mound. That's not happening. If you're if you're lucky, and I know I said August and I was being a bit hyperbolic, I'd say mid-June.
Right. So I just want to go through the rotation quickly, or at least I should say a couple of names that are on the team right now and a couple last season as well. Mm-hmm. Before I do that, make sure you guys do follow us on Instagram. And as I mentioned at the top of tonight's show, TikTok now, everyone. We're now on TikTok. So make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at 27Now3C. Shout out to everyone watching via YouTube right now. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here. So I honestly believe that this was the Mets mindset coming into 2025. They were looking for Frankie Montas to bounce back the same way that Severino did for them. Mm-hmm. They were obviously hoping for Manaea to be that same guy, hoping for Kodai Senga to return back to his 2023 form. And this is before the David Stearns and Steve Cohen era, but I kind of feel like they're hoping that Clay Holmes could turn into a guy like Seth Lugo for them.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, I'll just use this as the example.
A lot of what ifs in there, by the way. I'm sure
you who was the closer that was closing for the Cardinals that's now with San Francisco? What's his name?
Yes.
Jordan Hicks.
Yes.
Jordan Hicks went from a closer to being a starter, and he was injured most of that time. Like, I think it works better if you go the other way, where if you start out as a starter and then you transition to a reliever. Right. I think it's harder for these guys to build up their bodies to say, I'm going to pitch consistently, especially because now you're getting the ball every 5 days. Now, the one thing about the Mets schedule is there's a quirk in the Mets schedule. The Mets won't need a fifth starter till April 18th this year. If you look at the schedule, they have 3 off days in the first, I think, 3 weeks of the regular season. So you won't need a fifth starter, I believe, until April 18th. I just want to make sure that's correct. Ivan, can you just double check the schedule and see if, because I think that's what I read is April 18th. They won't need a fifth starter till April 18th. But like even that, like, are we sure Kodai Senga is going to be healthy? Right. Are we sure that, Paul Blackburn's going to be healthy? Paul Blackburn went down with a back injury last year.
And these are the guys. It's funny that you mentioned so many different names, but we're at a point now where we have to, right for now. And I know this is going to change, or at least I hope it does for the Mets. Yeah. Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas, we could just forget about them at least for the next 1 to 2 months, right? Yeah. Maybe you said even longer for Montas, right? But so. The other guys who are going to be next in line, as you mentioned, David Peterson, Tyler McGill. Who's the other guy that you mentioned as well? There was a couple that you mentioned. Blackburn. Blackburn is the other guy. Yeah. So these are the guys who the Mets are going to be literally hoping are going to be able to hold down the fort for the rotation until these guys come back. Who knows when, right? Because here's the thing too. There's no guarantee that these guys are even going to be picking up a ball when the team says, at least now.
That's the thing that you got to guard against, right? You're in the middle of the season. You don't want to rush these guys back because they say that they're healthy, and now you're in a dogfight, and now you need pitching depth. And you're trying to get these guys to come back faster than they should, because then that could torpedo your whole season. Like, I'm not saying don't be excited, Met fans. Be excited. This is going to be a good team. If everybody's healthy and on the field, they're going to be a very good team. Here's the problem. You're already seeing you got cracks at the most important part of your team. Starting pitching, you need people to get you through those innings and at least do it with the most minimalist of damage as possible. Like they got some stuff they got to figure out, man.
Right.
And so my point is, if I'm David Stearns right now, I'm at least calling Steve Cohen like, yo, I might have to do something that's a little bit uncomfortable. Like, we might have to go get a Michael King or Dylan Cease. I know it's expensive. You already put money on the line. I get it.
I think they have to. I think it should
But
be literally at the top of their to-do list at some point.
because the one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to catch yourself in the middle where you're like the Orioles who didn't address the starting pitching. And now you're sitting there looking at Atlanta. You're looking at Philly. You're looking at the Dodgers. You're looking at Arizona. You're looking at all these teams, and you could possibly be the 6th or 7th best team in the National League.
Real quick, right?
With everybody being healthy. And I know injuries happen for everybody, so I'm not jumping to any sort of conclusions. But, like, this is where you wonder, like, do we bring back a Quintana and do we try to augment the rotation by trying to either – here's the other thing I would suggest they do too. If you got one of those kids that are down there in AAA that you feel is ready to come up and compete right now at this level, you might have to do it. Maybe a Jose Buto, like you get him to be an opener and he gives you 2 or 3 innings and you augmented the rest of the way with something that, like, they're going to need arms, bro. And the one thing I always hear all the time, everybody says, listen, you need at least 8 to 10 starters to get you through a big league season.
Right. I agree.
You got your first 5 that's going to do the majority of the work, but there's always going to be that point where you may lose a starter or two, and you got to augment it somehow by allowing yourself to have depth at whatever point you need the depth. And so it's a tough sell if you're the Mets. And here's the other thing. The other thing is, if these guys don't come back, guess what? Now you have to have a conversation of what is this? How do we even manage this season? Like Nick Madrigal, who they brought in to be their 4th infielder on the bench, he's done for basically a year. He had a fracture in his shoulder.
Right. Yeah, I heard about that.
Which got me going, oh my God. I'm like, anybody want to call Jose Iglesias and get him back in a Met uniform? It's still time.
He's still crying about that, by the way. So hopefully he's able to wear that Mets uniform again, because it seems like that's the only one he wants to wear.
I mean,
he had a good season last year, man. Listen, it's not like he played 140 plus games, but in the games that he did play, he was impactful.
Nah, and he brought a certain type of aura. He brought a certain type of, like, yo, we can do this type of mentality. And I just like
it was fun, man. I kind of feel like that's something that is very important that I think, is goes unnoticed nowadays. Is that,
it does,
while you want to be able to have all of these, top talent guys being able to play on the same team, you got to make sure these guys are able to have fun together first and foremost.
Yeah, it's a kid's game at the end of the day. So the Met point, I'll just leave like this. I wouldn't be surprised if, they picked up the phone, they called the Padres, they called Seattle, they called I don't know, maybe they called the Yankees. Yo, Stroman needs some pitching.
I don't think they want to revisit that. And Stroman too, he left on bad terms. Like, as soon as he left the Mets, he aired out the fan base. He called them racist. There was like so many things that were put out there. Right. The moment, that I would say that relationship between Mets and Stroman ended.
Well, we said the same thing about Stroman and Brian Cashman, and they mended fences. So
you're right. But I think in the Mets case, I kind of feel like, what's that saying they say? Don't
burn the bridge.
Yes, I think that there's no way for them to even travel back and forth. I think that bitch is burned.
Who knows, man?
Yeah.
Who knows?
But I do see 2 things. As I mentioned, I see Jose Quintana getting a deal, and I see them either being in touch with the Padres, or the Mariners at some point this season.
And I'm gonna throw another name out there. What about the Mets traded for Jordan Montgomery? The Diamondbacks are looking to trade him. He's a lefty. You could use a lefty in that rotation. Take a shot. It's a 1-year deal. Take a shot.
if I'm not a Mets fan, but if I were, and by the way, any Mets fans watching right now, make sure you leave comments and
Leave a
you
comment
share how you
hashtag.
feel.
Leave a comment hashtag. Leave a Mets hashtag in the chat so we know. Leave a
Right.
hashtag Mets in the chat. You know what I mean? And we here
I
for it.
just like we're outsiders, right? Like imagine how Mets fans actually feel. I think
Right.
they're gonna want one of those guys that you mentioned, bro. And I think
So,
they're not gonna want anything less.
but here's what I'm going to tell you. The other name that I'll throw out there is Zach Eflin. If the Diamondbacks can't re-sign Zach Eflin, you be a fool to take that dude all the way to the end of the year knowing you can't pay him. You better trade him to get some type of value back. And the Mets could definitely use a guy like Zach Eflin. Like, I know I'm talking my names outside the box because I saw your face when I mentioned Montgomery, but yo, beggars can't be choosers right now. The season starts in 3 weeks. You need to augment this pitching some way, somehow, bro. You have to.
So you see them. And by the way, I saw this post yesterday that said something about there being only 30 days left. So today is officially
Day
20
29.
days left until opening day. But I say that because so between now and opening day, which as I mentioned, 29 days, you see the Mets making at least one deal for a starting pitcher.
They have to.
Right.
Because you're putting a lot of pressure on, like I said, the bullpen. You're putting a lot of pressure on McGill. You're putting a lot of pressure on Blackburn. Like Blackburn missed the whole second half last year. He made like 2 starts with the Mets. Didn't he get hit in the back or something where he got hurt and he was done? Or he pulled something happened to him where it's like he wasn't even available down the stretch. So these are the guys you're going to depend on?
And I hate to say this because, when we're talking about professional athletes, it all boils down to, the final score, right?
For sure.
But I say that because I don't know, man. I don't think the Mets. Listen, if one thing I haven't said yet is I wonder how Juan Soto feels about this. Now I know the money makes that feel as if it's nothing really, but I'm sure this is not something that he was looking to get involved with. After what he saw them do last season.
So, see, that's the risk of when you sign somebody to a 15-year contract,
right?
Because now you have to go on his timetable too. Like Lindor's 34 and Soto's going to be 27 and Alonso's older, and the Mets is still a young team because you got Acuna, you got Vientos, you got a lot more youth, you know what I'm saying, to augment some of this age. But I think they got to win a championship within Soto's first 5 years of being a Met, because it's only going to get harder after that.
Right. Yeah, I've heard you say that before. I definitely have heard you say that before.
And so, Met fans, what do you think? Leave us a comment in the chat. Let us know. Lindor will be 31, as Shrek points out. Thank you, Shrek. Leave us a comment in the chat, Met fans. How do we go about doing this? And leave us a comment if you're not a Met fan. Just from a baseball perspective, what do you think they do to augment some of this? Because I'm sitting here right now, and if I was David Stearns, my cell phone's on fire.
Right. I wanted to make one more point to when I was just talking about like the final score and the results of the ending of a game. I say that because I kind of feel like, and Mets fans, I don't know if you guys are going to be okay with openly admitting this yourselves, but as an outsider, I kind of feel like the Mets had a little bit of luck last season, bro. I mean, call it what it is. They got some talented players. I think they've made some great moves this offseason, but are you really banking on that little bit of luck for yet another season? I don't know.
That's why I was a bit curious when they went back to the same approach of like trying to strike lightning in a bottle twice. It kind of felt like you're doing this again.
Like let's not turn that into a method now moving forward. I for sure don't want to see that.
But I think that's what they're gonna do. I think David Stearns is risk averse to giving out long-term deals to pitchers. He's risk averse. That's why I think they're going to do this. I think this is a thing for them. Whether they openly admit it or not, that's another question for another day. Right. But to say that this is not a thing that they at least are at least contemplating internally, that would be a huge misnomer considering the fact that he hasn't been the type to extend pitchers. Like the moment he's had to extend them, he's either traded them, fought them in arbitration. You remember how it ended with Corbin Burns when he was in Milwaukee. So
Right.
the mere idea that you're going to extend somebody and just allow them to just take up your payroll, I mean, that's a dicey proposition. And I hope that there's some forest through the trees type of action that happens where it's like maybe one of these younger or a few of these younger pitchers can come up here and create some level of stability within the rotation, right? Like that's why I'm going to be honest. Like I'm kind of surprised that they weren't more attracted to a Garrett Crochet. Garrett Crochet
Right.
was clearly on the market. He was clearly available. I'm surprised the Mets didn't push all the chips into the middle of the table to try and acquire a guy like that. Because now you're talking about a guy who's left-handed, who throws really hard, and who can lead your rotation. And now Manaea can slide down a peg. Maybe you don't even do the Montas deal because maybe the money you were going to get Montas, you say, let's just put that towards, bullpen, or let's put that towards, re-signing Severino or something like that. I just think that they've misplayed this in terms of acquiring starting pitching, and now they may be put in a situation where, you might not have no other choice because the league ain't gonna stop trying to beat your brains in because you got Soto, you flumping all that money. Oh, we the big bad Mets. We the big bad Mets. Oh, now you ain't the big bad Mets no more.
And if you really look at how the offseason turned out for other teams other than the Mets themselves, you've got more than just the Dodgers to worry about.
Arizona got better.
Arizona's back now.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of these teams are going to be,
I think,
looking to take that spot, I should say.
I'm going to tell you this, I think that whole NL West is going to be tough to deal. We're going to get to the NL West, and
we're going to have to call it the Wild Wild West this season.
You know what I mean? Like we're gonna get to the NL West here in a little bit, but like that NL West is gonna be no joke. I think the Central is gonna be better. I think the Reds, the Cubs, they're gonna be better. The Brewers are always gonna find their way into this somehow. Don't know how they do it, but they're just gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I like the Reds. I kind of like the Reds. I think the Reds are a fringe playoff team, but we're gonna get into the Central another time. But yeah, the Mets got some work to do because guess what? Atlanta ain't going nowhere. Philly ain't going nowhere either. And before you know it, you're going to look back and the Nationals are going to be creeping up your back pretty soon too. They got some young talent down there. Soto is nice. Lindor's nice. Bringing back Pete is nice. But pitching wins championships, kids.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Oh, but what people will tell you, and we've heard this, but you only need 3 healthy starters in the postseason. Do you?
Yeah, well, you need an army to get you through an entire season.
Yeah, you got to get through the season first to get to October.
Right.
You need a cavalcade just to do that.
And here's the thing, too. Let's say everyone is fine and dandy for the Mets come October.
Right.
Like, which 3 guys in that rotation? And I'm sorry if I sound like a hater. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm trying to crack a joke or two against the Mets. I'm really not. Like, no. I'm so unbiased right now with what I'm saying. But which 3 guys are you really banking on going into a playoff series?
That's why you got to hope Manaea comes back. That's why you got to hope that you get something out of, the guys that are in the rotation. Like, you got to hope that there's – and here's the other thing. You got to hope then at the deadline you have enough to reel in a big fish because I really think that they're Dylan Cease away from winning the National League East.
Yeah, they better.
But here's the thing. It's only going to get harder because AJ Preller knows that. And there's going to be – this is why the wild card complicates things. You can't depend on the trade deadline because – what if the Padres are in it and say, we ain't giving nobody up. We're going to go for it. What do you do then? Like, you know what I would have did if I was the Mets? And this is another gamble too, but Shane Bieber, 2-year deal.
Mm-hmm. Would have been cheap as well.
Like, come on. Like,
yeah. You had options.
I'm talking about sometimes you got to think outside the box. See, Media doesn't do a good job of presenting that. Yes, I'm calling out the media, even though we're parts of the media technically. I can't believe I just said we're parts of media. This is
We are, but we're part of the new era, I would say, not mainstream media.
It
And
just
once we do reach mainstream media, we want to come with a different type of approach.
it just feels like you had options to augment this starting rotation, and you chose to be like, we're gonna do it the cheapest way possible. You can't go to Lehman Marcus and then go shopping for pitching at the thrift store.
Right?
Like you can't go offensively going to Lehman Marcus, getting everything off the shelves and fucking. Then when you need pitching, you go, yo, I'm gonna just go to the thrift store in the city and find some shit that I hope I could string together. Wait, what? Oh man. Anyway, enough Met talk. If you're a
Yeah,
Met
let
fan,
me hit them with a reminder before we get into a couple of comments here. By the way, guys, do not be afraid to leave a comment. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at 27 Now 3C. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button for those of you who are watching right now. And shout out to those of you who could be watching after the fact. Can't forget about you guys.
for sure.
Make sure you subscribe.
Replay gang. If you're part of the replay gang and you watch the show after it goes off the air, put a hashtag replay gang in.
Yeah, that would be dope. For those, that's a good point, Stefan. For those of you who do or are not able to watch the show live, which is perfectly fine, leave a comment after the fact and
Leave a hashtag
so that we know who you are. And
leave a hashtag replay gang, and we'll you know what I mean. We'll shout you guys out.
right.
Also, speaking of conversations and arguments, this is about to start an argument. Yo, what if I told you I think Major League Baseball needs to come up with an alternative to the MVP award? Where you at with that?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. So I'm gonna, I would say, begin with where we left off, and we didn't really talk about this for long.
No.
But it was, as I mentioned to you, and I want to share with all of you guys who are watching here tonight. It was never something that had crossed my mind. Like, yeah, for sure, there had always been times when I thought perhaps maybe the player who finished in second place, runner up, or even in third, right, top three, could sometimes be more deserving than the person who finished in first place. And one example that I brought up to you, Stefan, and it's always been the MVP award for as long as we could remember now, which is why we're getting into this. But back then, and you hear stories about this, this player in the year such and such, like he finished third and he really should have been the MVP, but instead they went with someone who I guess was more of more visually known, more of a household name, whether he had the numbers or not. Obviously, they had something, but they certainly weren't the most valuable player to their actual team. But in terms of numbers, yeah. And I think last season we saw a great example of that. When we saw a lot of people would say it wasn't even a race, Stefan. And I know you hate that because, and I know where you stand as well, because I think a lot of people thought it was already wrapped up with like a month and a half still left to the season. But that month and a half is what helped a guy like Francisco Lindor, really get into the conversation of not only being a top three candidate, but can he possibly be the guy who wins rather than Ohtani? Obviously, Ohtani being the winner, but that's a great example to start with.
I think a lot of it oftentimes too is predetermined, which sucks.
Really? Like,
yes.
So you think before season begins?
No,
they say,
no, not before the season begins. But like, let's say somebody got off to a start where they have 45 home runs in August, they got 100 RBIs, and they're just out here killing, and their team's gonna make the playoffs. I believe it's already predetermined that player is gonna get the MVP. Where sometimes it's the player that leads their team on a wild card chase, like Lindor did for the Mets last year. You can literally see. I could see myself saying, for the last 2 months of the regular season, Francisco was more valuable to his team than Shohei Ohtani was to his team.
You said it on the show last season.
And this is the argument that I use, or this is the method that I go by. The method that I go by is take Ohtani off the Dodgers and tell me they're not a playoff team. Take Lindor off the Mets and tell me the Mets aren't. Tell me they're a playoff team.
I think they might even finish below 500 maybe without Lindor.
I think there's a good shot. Yes.
Yeah.
Like the other thing, listen. Self-admittedly, we're Yankee fans, but we love the game. Bobby Witt was looking like an MVP candidate towards the end of the season for me, my boy. But we gave it to Judge because we saw the gaudy numbers and we said, oh my God, Aaron Judge is doing things that we've never seen on a baseball field. But like Bobby Witt should have gotten more consideration than what he got. He really should have.
If we're talking about this new thing, right? We of course have to give it a name. Like, do you have any names in mind that you think would work?
I got one. Most important player.
Most important. So
most
MIP.
Important player. Yeah, most important player because
most important player.
You know what? We need to strip this away from just the offense. The reason why, to me, and I'm gonna say this, and if it pisses people off, we can fight about it. There's 8 of you in here. Let's fight about it. Let's argue. I'm down. The MVP has become statistically just a offensive award. That's disgusting to me.
Yeah, I think nowadays they pay so much attention to a stat like WAR, and that ends up being the winner, I would say.
Which is bullshit, because how do you quantify it? What does it even mean? What does it mean? What happened to just saying, yo, this guy only plays one part of the field? He don't play both positions. He's a DH. You automatically should be disqualified for that. Lindor had to go out there every day with a hurt back and play shortstop. Right. And carry the team to the playoffs on both ends of the ball. And we're just going to give it to Ohtani? Why? Why? Like, and I'm sorry, I love Aaron Judge, but Bobby Witt was a better shortstop than Aaron Judge was center fielder last year. Defense has to matter. If we're talking about the most valuable player, not the most offensively efficient player, that has to matter. Like, you can't pick and choose how do we quantify an MVP. Because whatever happened to the days when, you remember when Alex Rodriguez was in MVPs in Texas?
Yeah, he got one there and then two with the Yankees.
MVP. He won an MVP in Texas.
Yeah.
When nobody was like, the team was terrible.
Yeah, the team was awful. That's true.
And he still won an MVP because his numbers were outrageous on both sides of the ball. Like, why are we sacrificing defense for the better good, the entertainment value to name an MVP? How does Shohei run away with it that severely to the point where you're like, bro, did Major League...
You know, the crazy part, too, a lot of people like to talk about the 50-50 season. But at the same time, I think even had he not gotten those 50 stolen bases, let's say it was 50 jacks and like 25 to 30 stolen bases, I still think he would have won. Not because I would have voted for him, but I hate to say this, but it's Shohei Ohtani. Like, this is like baseball. And I said it to you over the phone, Stephen, the other day. This is baseball's version of LeBron James.
He's a revenue generator. That's the thing that we need to remember, is he generates revenue for the sport. I was just reading an article by Evan Drellick in The Athletic where he talked about the Dodgers being the team that makes the league the most money. Now, baseball was valued this past season at $12.1 billion as an industry. The Dodgers, they make the most of that because they have the international signing bonus. They have the Japan market, but they also have revenue that comes from Japan. Sponsors, Ohtani, Yamamoto. Now you're going to see it with Sasaki. Like, that influences, because the global market and the global footprint that the Dodgers bring to baseball, that matters. Because this guy is not just representing the LA Dodgers. He's representing the whole country of Japan and the whole continent of Asia. That's crazy. How do you win?
Yeah.
No, seriously, how do you win?
Right. And then could you imagine, too, how many people would have been pissed off had it been Lindor who won and Ohtani finishing second?
But
that would have caused a little something, I would
that
say.
would have called they would have been trials on this. There would have been documentaries made. There would have been investigations. They would have hired a law firm. Yo, did somebody tinker with the results? But I could argue it the other way. Because I can make the argument that baseball said to, the writers, yo, vote this dude for MVP because he's making us so much money that if it goes any other way, we look crazy.
What is it? Is it 3 now that he got, right? I think he got
3 MVPs.
2 with the Angels and then
1 with the Dodgers. Yeah.
Damn.
Now and
I wonder if he ends up winning as many as Barry Bonds did. Bonds won 7.
He's already halfway there. And I'm not even saying he's not deserving of it. That's not what I'm saying.
Right, yeah.
But I want to quantify what it means to be an MVP. It's not just easy to say, yo, let's just name an MVP. Because if we're going to just name it by popularity alone, then why are we even having a race on who decides to win it and who don't? Like, Ohtani's in a lineup with Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez, who killed last year.
We're talking about the first 3 names alone. That's like 3 of the top 10 best baseball players in the world.
Yeah. What are we doing? That's like giving LeBron the MVP when you got D-Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron won the MVP in my
I think he did get one, right.
And it's like, yo, bro, come on, bro. I understand what he means to the game and what his numbers mean. Listen, he's a freak. To be able to do it on both ends and do what he does, I understand the allure of why you want to give him MVP, but there got to be some level of fairness to this, which is why I think there needs to be 2 awards. There should be one award that, you know what, just rename it the popular vote award. That's it.
For MVP?
Yes. And I'm going to piss some other people off. Yo, the writers, you can no longer vote for this. This has to be the peers of the players that vote for this. And you know how I would do it? I would get a committee. 5 current players, 5 retired players, 10 players in total. You take their numbers and you vote based on what you've seen them do this year. Don't leave it up to the writers, because the writers could get pressured and swayed. And I got a job to do. I got to build relationships with these players. I can't alienate Ohtani. And guess what? Ohtani don't even do interviews anyway. Oh, no, but we were supposed to get an interview with him. No, he does interviews when he wants to. You know, Shohei Ohtani did, I think, there was a time with the Angels that he didn't do post-game interviews unless he pitched.
Wow.
He didn't talk to the media. I don't know if it's changed now that he's in Los Angeles, but he wasn't talking to the media unless he started the game. And this is the face. This is the guy you want to give MVP.
Yeah, that's a problem. I kind of feel like if you genuinely are, in Shohei Ohtani's case, like if you genuinely are going to be the face of baseball as people are seeing you as, you got to be able to live up to that and speak to reporters after games. Yeah.
And if something goes wrong, you got to be able to own up to it and say, yo, my bad. I didn't do that, or I didn't do this. Why does everybody have to sit there in front of their lockers and talk to the reporters and you're exempt from that whole idea? Why? Because you have otherworldly talent? That's like LeBron James telling the media, nah, I'm not talking to y'all. I'm LeBron. I don't have to talk to y'all. That don't matter.
Right.
Y'all peons. What? So to me, listen, change the award. Let's make 2 separate awards, and let's make it so that if the writers want to vote for the MVP, the players and the retired players vote for the most important player. There needs to be a clear-cut distinction between both, because guess what? Players are going to continue to get robbed, because here's the other thing that nobody talks about. There's salaries attached to this. There's money attached to whether these guys can get the bonuses. If you win an MVP, that's an extra $1 million in your contract.
Right, yeah.
That's an extra $2 million. That's money that I can't afford to allocate the resources, or I can't afford to have, because I basically got robbed out of winning an MVP. But nobody sits there and talks about that. Nobody says, look at the financial ramifications if you basically tell a player, yo, we didn't vote for you for MVP. What? then you need to strip the MVP incentives from everybody's contract because there's only a fair few people that can get a fair shake.
So let me ask you something. I want to go back just a few years ago. Who is is it possible that he could possibly not win? I don't want to say win, but at least be in the conversation for MVP still. Yeah, in the case of Mike Trout, when you go back and look at the MVPs that he won with the Angels, would you say that he deserved them, or were those teams just that bad and they should have easily gone to somebody else?
Nah, Mike Trout was a machine. When you talk about what this guy was doing, you're winning for Gold Gloves and hitting 40 home runs and doing it on both ends. See, you see the
I
clear.
kind of feel like that's how people view Otani, as a machine.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You've taken 2 full seasons where you didn't pitch. And then now you heard that they extended the two-way rule, right? Where it used to be a year eligibility. Now they're giving them 2 years of eligibility to maintain two-way player status.
Wait, you could only talk about that some more. I want to hear about that.
So basically, if you miss a full season because he didn't pitch this year, he technically should have lost his two-way status because he missed a full year of not pitching.
Mm-hmm.
So Major League Baseball, circumventing the rules because he's the Prince Charming, and you can't.
I didn't know that was a thing. That's crazy.
Him off. They extended the rules, so now he gets an extra year of two-way eligibility, even though he didn't pitch at all last year. They just created that rule for him.
But because of who he is, like you said, I could see. Like, I mean, let's be honest, he's must-see TV. Like, I would see why they would, throw in.
But if you're gonna give him preferential treatment, you got to give everybody else the same thing too. You can't give him preferential treatment and don't give it to everybody else, because then where's the fairness in that? What I'm talking about is fairness. I'm not even talking about the idea that he don't deserve the accolades he gets. But if we're gonna uphold rules for him, the same rules should be upheld for everybody else. Because then what the hell are we doing? You should just monopolize the sport. You should call it Otani Ball. It shouldn't even be MVP anymore.
Yeah, for real.
Or Major League Baseball. Just call it the Shohei Ohtani League.
You know what's going to be crazy? And there's still time for this too, because with Roki Sasaki, Yamamoto, listen, I'm sure he could be better than what he was last season. But could you imagine if at least 2 out of the 3 are rocking, or 3 out of the 3? Like, let's say like all 3 at some point this season are doing like things that are ridiculous, and to consider the fact that they're on the same team doing those things. Japan just might take over the world.
Not might. They about to.
Yeah.
They about to. You see that WBC team they be rolling out?
By the way, I'm so excited because I believe next year is when the WBC, is back, right? I'm excited for that, man. And the fact that we have the show too, man, I can't wait for the coverage and everything in between.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. We gonna be in Miami for the WBC next year. We going to Miami. We going to one of those games down in Miami. It's happening. So just start packing your shit, bro, because we heading down to South Beach. Because I want to see that in person. Because that looks like a whole bunch of fun. Can you imagine getting content from out there, bro?
Yeah. Yeah. They actually have, I think the qualifiers are happening right now, right?
Right now, yeah. Actually, I think they just finished up. The last team just qualified.
The last team I heard was
Chinese Taipei. Yeah.
It's the last team I heard of. But I know Nicaragua was also involved. I think Spain, some other teams as well. Yeah.
And those games be lit. You see the crowds. I'm like, yo.
Right. That's like the WBC before the actual WBC.
It's like the precursor.
Yeah.
But if you turn Major League games into that, you know how lit Major League games would be?
Right.
If you let the people sing, dance, have a good time, celebrate how we want to celebrate. Because that's the thing about the game, bro. We got to get back to celebrating the game from its natural, causes. Like
I said earlier tonight about players having fun again.
And let them show their personality. Let them be who they are. And that's why I'm kind of against this robo thing. Like I'm against it. Because baseball, like Max Scherzer, he made a start yesterday for Blue Jays. He had a very telling quote, after his start. He said, humans should be judged by humans. It's not fair that we get to be judged by robots, because robots are impervious to mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we gonna do? You're gonna have like a Ghostbuster umpire standing back there behind the plate going, "That was a ball. That was a strike." Like, how are we gonna differentiate? And I'm sorry,
And when exactly are we gonna find out? Like, which way are they gonna go with it? Are they gonna go with the whole earpiece and being told what it is, or are they gonna go with the umpires still, and then that could be challenged?
If you notice, they just got an earpiece in the ear. They look up at the scoreboard and they determine whether it's a ball or strike, and the call is reversed. They don't even move from the spot.
Okay, right.
It's right there. But if you could do that for balls and strikes, why the hell can't you do the same shit for safer out?
Safer out, I'm all for the balls and strikes thing, and we spoke about it in I think maybe a week or two ago. But
I know that, I agree with you. What I'm saying is, why, if you can simply stand behind the plate and go, "Yo, this, look at the board, safe or out." Why you gotta go to this clunky ass device, put headphones on like we getting ready to put on a boombox, and tell me whether he's safe or out?
Okay, so you're saying if you're gonna challenge, throw it up on the jumbotron, and that's we all determine.
Let everybody see it. They do it in football games.
Right.
Put it on the fucking jumbotrons and let's determine whether he's safe or out.
Right.
What is this, 1985?
It could be that easy, because more often than not, usually if you are watching it on a jumbotron, you could tell right away.
Thank you. Like, thank you. And here's what you should do. Don't even call back to New York like I suggested a couple of weeks ago. Have somebody in the umpire room that's just designated to watch the game from all four angles on the bases, and they'll be able to tell you whether he's safe or out. Why we gotta lug this big ass thing? The security guy gotta stand there like a fucking asshole.
Yeah, it's over exaggerated.
Yeah, waiting for you to decide whether he's safe or out. When you're sitting there like, bro, did we just sit here and stand here like a bunch of jerk offs?
And the funny thing is too, if you're watching the game, via broadcast, they're already showing you the replay before you even know the actual call.
Yes.
So you're really just waiting around for nothing, because everybody already knows. We saw the replay.
And the crazy part is, why can't we have somebody over the loudspeaker say, "Yo"? Sometimes you don't even know it's being reviewed till you see the umpire running in. Why is the public address not on the TV going, "Yo, this call is being challenged"? They do it in the NFL. I'm irritated.
No, I feel you, man. And that's why I said when we had first talked about this new system that Major League Baseball is now going to implement in 2020. Oh, no, it's for next season, right? Next season, I believe, is when it begins. Is it 2026?
They haven't put a definitive timetable on it. They're still trying to work out the kinks, and they might try in the minor leagues another year. But we'll see, because depending on, if they do implement it in 2026, I wonder if it's something that could be implemented unilaterally, or whether the players union has a say whether this can be implemented or not. That's the thing that I'm looking for, and which leads me to the next point. If you can't agree on this, something as simple as an international draft, how the fuck you gonna agree on this?
Right.
You feel me? We got some comments here. Let's read some of these comments. Emilio says MVPs are determined by the All-Star break. Wow.
I agree. Usually when you hear people say who they have as the MVP by the All-Star break, not too many are willing to change that.
Brand names win MVPs.
Yep.
Scherzer said after challenging a ball call wasn't even close to being a strike. Wow.
You see, and that goes back to my whole point of the whole thing just being ridiculous from the very beginning. Like the fact that Scherzer tried to argue a pitch that wasn't even close, that's a part of the problem. It is. Now, I know he's only using that because it's now a thing. Because if it was really up to him, he wouldn't give a damn.
What's up, King Cash? It's funny you say that. We about to get into that, bro. How you doing tonight, man? Thank you for stopping by and
Really? So King Cash,
popping
you
in.
think that players should just still go wherever the hell they want to go?
No, do you think it's okay for players to be verbally signed before they turn 16 because they got handshake agreement with these major league clubs?
That I don't think is okay. No, I'm
But
against that.
that's what they're doing now, though.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like baseball, in a way, is like headed towards like that soccer route. You know, in soccer, they sign dudes, I think I've heard 12, 13 years old. They sign dudes really early.
So Shrek has a comment that we weren't even talking about this, but I'll put it up here. I've been thinking about Devers' third base situation. Bregman has opt-outs in the contract, and many are predicting he will have a monster season. Bregman turns 31 next month. If he does have the monster year, he could opt out and get contract for a few more years, guaranteed money. See, that's stupid too. So then why you even made the signing in the first place?
Right.
Yes, if I'm stuck on a team for 6 years with low pay, pick my team. Nah. See, but that's why that's going to be changed because ultimately, what I think the players will fight for is to say if we're going to have a full on draft or we're going to institute both parts of the draft together, then they need to be treated and slotted like real, like just as the college players do.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like we're seeing this in other sports too, especially the NBA, for example. But with this being a baseball show, we're starting to see a lot of good, like really good, talented players come from other parts of the world.
And this
And
is
I
what
think there's so many of them to the point now where we might be getting closer to an international draft making sense because there's that many.
and what I would say is, yo, put the international draft with the actual draft. Like have everybody included. Why do we have to segregate it? Why?
Oh, just make it one draft.
Yes,
Okay.
because here's the reality of it. International draft to me has a connotation of we're still going to give you deals under the table because we're separately delineating what's an amateur college draft and what's the international draft. The draft should be the draft for all parties involved. And here's the thing. If we do have one international draft, guess what? They become free agents automatically after 4 years of big league service time. That's it.
If you come internationally.
Yes. And
Okay.
even if you come through the college draft, if you were drafted, we have to change it from 6 years to 4 years. You got to be able to get paid earlier. Like Yamamoto was so good, he shouldn't be. Nah, you can't, because he actually lost money. Why shouldn't he be drafted? If he was drafted,
Right.
you know what I would do too?
See, but we can't have both, Cash. I get your point, but you can't have both.
You can't. Nah. Like what I would say is, yo, he chose to come out at 23. He could have waited until he was 25 and then got paid. But you came out 2 years earlier. That's nobody's, decision but your own. So that's strictly on Yamamoto. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the idea that Yamamoto was deserved preferential treat. Not Yamamoto. Yeah, Yamamoto waited. I'm thinking about Sasaki that came out early. My bad. Sasaki came out early. Yamamoto didn't. Yamamoto waited. He didn't go through a draft. He was signed as a free agent because he waited till he was 25. He never went through a draft, but yes, he
But
should.
I get. I think that's what he's trying to say.
You know
If
what?
you are already coming from a professional level elsewhere, you shouldn't have to go through a draft that's full of a bunch of college kids.
Then how do we delineate this then?
I know that's the tough part. Yeah.
Because you know what I would say then is fuck it. Let it be an open system. Get rid of the posting garbage. And once he says I don't want to pitch here anymore, Major League Baseball has to pay the fee to his team. He's open to all 30 clubs, and he becomes a free agent just like he would if he was in the big leagues. That's how you get rid of it. But the league will never upset. The league would never take on the cost. That's why. Because if the league wanted to stop this, the league could say, you know what? We'll pay the posting fee to your team. We pay the posting fee to your team.
Right.
Not the team itself who gets you, but the league will pay the posting fee. The player becomes automatic property of Major League Baseball. He becomes part of the free agent pool. Because if you don't want to draft him, then he automatically becomes a free agent like the American players when they hit the free agent mark.
And the great thing about this too, and I want to make sure we don't forget about this part, is also the fact that if you do have a draft, right, you give some of these teams that, that don't really have franchise players hopes of possibly landing one through that international draft.
That's the other thing too. It's like, I think it needs to even out because the rich can't keep getting richer. You have to have some trickle down effect to where the teams that really need the help in terms of the draft can get the help they need. Like, to me, the Pirates and the teams that are struggling, they should get first crack at the international draft. Yeah. Not the teams that already have the resources to be able to do whatever they want.
Well, you know what a lot of people are going to say? Well, a lot of these guys who are coming from overseas don't cost that much, right? Like, one thing that I heard a lot, especially with Roki Sasaki, was, well, he could have gone anywhere.
He could have.
He chose the Dodgers. And I remember, I don't know if it was earlier this year or late last year, we did a show and we had a bunch of Dodgers fans. And I think some of them were saying, like, yeah, but he liked this about the Dodgers and he liked this more than every other team. It was all about the Dodgers. And it's like, well, I hear you. We kind of all thought he was going to go there anyway. But could we give some of these other teams that are at the bottom of the barrel some help as well?
This is an interesting point. I think if they move it to age 24 to make the contract 4 or 5 years, okay, I'll stipulate that. But if you're going to do that for the international bonus players, the international signees, then guess what you need to do? You need to do it for the big leaguers too. Like, if a big leaguer is in the big leagues by the time he's 20 years old, he automatically should be a free agent by the time he's 25.
Okay.
You know why I say that? Because if we're going to sit here and talk about, analytics and how this person is going to age, how this player's body type is going to age, if we're going to talk about all of that, then there needs to be a clear delineation between the player being able to get the most bang for his buck, because the player is already somewhat compromised. Like, honestly, look at when all these guys become free agents or get a salary cap. The players
salary cap
never
is
do
not
that.
Gonna happen.
That's not happening. Because if you get a salary cap, guess what? The whole 2027 season is wiped out. It's wiped out. Teams like the Pirates should be rewarded.
But that's the point of a draft, though.
That's the point of a draft.
This. We've talked about this a couple years back, Steph, I remember, but this is a problem too. Calling guys up later than they really should be getting a call up to the big league level, just so that you could be able to have him for a little longer. I'm not a big fan of that, man, especially if it's clear as day that a player at the minor league level should have already been called up. Major League Baseball needs to look into that.
So here's the thing with a salary floor. So you guys are trying to make this a show where we here for a hot minute, because if you do a salary floor, here's the problem. Then you're gonna make it so that every team, every owner, because I'm capping it at $100 million. In order to have your what they call your share of revenue sharing, if you're gonna make it a cap floor, you need to spend no less than $100 million on free agents, and you have to do it in consecutive seasons. Because if you don't, you lose your revenue sharing rights.
That
You
would
know
be
what?
interesting because some of these players, they take a few years just to be able to get to that point.
And not even the players. I'm talking about the owners. The owners have to spend $100 million per season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Owners for certain teams take a few years just to get to what you're saying.
So then here's my point. If you don't got it, sell the team. Major League Baseball should. I'm sorry. Why is Dick Manafort the owner of the Rockies? This guy's net worth is bare. Can you Google Dick Manafort's net worth? The Rockies owner. Just Google his net worth for me. I want to know how rich this dude is.
He has an estimated net worth of around 700 million.
Yo, Juan Soto's entire contract is more than your net worth. What are we doing? Do me a favor. Do Bob Nutting, the owner of the Pirates. I know it can't be known. He gotta be. What did you just said? His entire net worth $700 million.
Yeah.
Soto's contract is $765.
He's over $1 billion, Bob Nutting.
He's over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Why does Dick Manafort even own the Rockies? What are we even doing?
Yeah, man. The Rockies, dude, that's I don't even know what to say, man.
No, but I'm talking about like you put them at a severe disadvantage when a guy his net worth is less than Juan Soto's entire contract.
So you think all owners should all at least be worth $1 billion?
What?
$1 billion or more?
And that should be your net worth.
Yeah.
Because Cash makes a good point. His team is worth more than his net worth. But you can't put that back into your team because your net worth barely allows you to even cover some of that overhead.
Right.
What are we doing? The Pirates should be rewarded with schemes because they are cheap. Make the salary floor that forces teams to spend money on Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what that's going to force? Teams that's going to force owners that don't want to spend this money to sell their teams. I could give you 5 owners right now that got to go immediately. Jerry Reinsdorf in Chicago with the White Sox, he got to go. Bob Nutting in Pittsburgh, he got to go. The Pohlad family, they're cheap fucks. They got to go. Stu Sternberg in Tampa, you got to go. The Miami Marlins owner, you got to go too.
And the owner of the Rockies, like you said.
And
too.
Dick Manafort, yo, we out.
Yeah.
We out. Because if we're going to sit here and talk about, yo, there needs to be a draft and we need to make it more fair for the international players, you need to give these teams a shot to even invest in the kind of money it's going to take to draft some of these kids.
Right.
And to keep them, not only just to draft them, but to keep them. Because Cash makes a good point. Not Cash, Shrek. What are we doing? Bro, you know the moment Paul Skeens touches 2 years before free agency, they're going to be looking to trade him.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is good for the sport? How? How is this good? Like, I'm sorry, but Jerry Reinsdorf, yo, bro, you're 79 years old. Sell the White Sox, bro. Sell the White Sox, bro. They've been the worst team in baseball for the last 3 seasons. Sell the team, bro. This is where Rob Manfred has to step in and be like, yo. You in Chicago? You this bad in Chicago? You ain't in fucking, no disrespect, Shrek, but you ain't in Kansas City. You're in Chicago, Illinois.
Right.
And you're this bad? Why? Like,
I also think where the White Sox, and I want to go back to the time when Tim Anderson was relevant. Yohan Moncada was on the team. Luis Robert,
Jose
Abreu. I kind of feel like they thought, looking at that team, like,
Jesus.
yo, maybe not all of these guys, but a handful of these guys are going to be what's next up for us. And we all saw it fall flat in their face. Nobody's on that team.
This point,
Abreu gone, Moncada gone, Tim Anderson gone, Garrett Crochet gone.
That whole team is done. They disbanded.
Yeah.
Yo, Cash, you out here winning. You out here. You out here. You out here preaching, my boy.
You, Cash, basically have said something right there that Stefan has shared with me off the air, actually. So it's funny that you say that live for everyone to watch tonight.
Yo, and you know what? You know why I'm so upset by this? Can we tell a story, bro? You remember back in the days when we were doing this in college, and I used to get upset about, yo, the business of baseball one day is gonna is gonna change the way we look at the game. And you guys all would tell me, yo, you're too money driven. It's not all about the money.
Yeah, I used to say that a lot then. I might say once in a while now, but it makes more sense.
Look at where we are, bro. Yeah. Look at where we are. And I'm not trying to be I promise, guys. I swear to you, Ivan knows this, and I'm being so sincere from the bottom of my very soul. I am not the I told you so guy. But when you love the game as much as we do, like I love it at an unhealthy level. It sickens me to know that the Rockies are never going to be able to sign free agents. I'm not even a Rocky fan, but what do you tell that fan base? What do you tell the Guardians who just lost their owner? By the way, Charles Dolan, the uncle of Jim Dolan, James Dolan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, passed away. He's 90. He was 94. So
he was the owner of the Guardians?
Yes. And for a while, they were talking about possibly selling because he was getting up in age and the kids don't want the responsibility. Here's the other thing. If you know the kids don't want the responsibility, why don't you sell before it's too late? Like if I'm the Polad family, the father is up in age. He's really sick. He's not doing well. Now the sons are running. And if you're the Twins, sell the team. I know Justin Ishbia was going to buy it. Now Justin Ishbia looks like he's going to buy the White Sox because you want to talk about, crazy turn of events. But like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Here's the other thing. Emilio with the banger off the top rope. This.
Damn, really? We want to go that far?
Yes. You know why? Because then it makes expansion worth it. Like the Rays, fold them right now.
So instead of 30, there should be what? Maybe 25? 23 teams?
It should be 25 teams, but here's what I would do. Right? It can get up to 30 teams if you have 5 owners that can viably buy these teams from an expansion start where you don't even get the former team. Like whoever buys that Rays team, the organization automatically has to disband. You lose all their records. You lose everything about the Rays. You now have to go into a different city. You have to find a different place for your team to play, whether it's Orlando, whether it's Nashville, whether it's Montreal, whether it's wherever the fuck you're thinking about. And you have to make it work in that new market. Stigma is always going to be there. Baseball can't work in Florida. Baseball can't work in Tampa. So you're already coming in behind the 8 ball. So if you're a new owner, you should be forced to you have to buy the team, take a couple years. Baseball it reconfigures itself where maybe there is 25 teams in the league. Maybe there is only 27 teams in the league because you're talking about expansion. But we're talking about 3 teams in the league right now that shouldn't even be in baseball. Like the Rockies shouldn't even have a team.
Cash says we chill. Let's not disrespect the Rays. Nobody even shows up to their ballpark.
Nobody goes to games.
Even when they're relevant. And the Rays, they listen. They've made the playoffs quite a few times.
Yo, bro, you're playing against Steinbrenner Field. Can we stop this foolishness? Come on, son.
And I see his comment here about, no, we need the Rockies for practice games. Listen, I know, I understand exactly where you guys are coming from, but where else are people going to hit 500 plus foot home runs. They need Coors Field.
But this is where I think too, baseball also has to look into the idea of, yo, how about we find the owner that's a billionaire, that's from the market, that might want to buy this team that is from the market that the team is playing in. You know, there's a billionaire in Denver. No, why? Because you get this sloppy seconds. Now you're just being greedy, Cash. Now you're just on your greed. But like the Rays shouldn't be here. The Rockies shouldn't be here. The White Sox should not be in Major League Baseball right now. You know what I hope happens? I hope Justin Ishbia buys the White Sox.
For the Marlins too. The Marlins are another team as well.
Yeah, I hope Justin Ishbia buys the White Sox and moves them to Nashville immediately. Doesn't even play around with the idea of keeping them in Chicago, because if we're going to sit here and have conversations about international market, things like that. And here's the thing. So did you hear the proposal? Major League Baseball proposed $191 million for the international draft. Major League Baseball said, all right, we want it done at $260. They're fighting over even what the money's going to look like for an international draft.
Right.
So if you're fighting over that, what are we doing? And then did you hear the statements made by Tony Clark and Rob Manfred about, well, I get emails about how teams are concerned about how the Dodgers are doing business. And then Tony Clark responds with, yeah, I get emails too about how teams refuse to spend money when there's good quality players out here. So what the fuck are you talking about?
So they're just pointing fingers at each other. There's no common ground.
I promise you. Listen, if I could get on my knees without dying and get up and get back in my wheelchair, I would. I promise you, for all that is holy, we are headed for the worst lockout in perhaps baseball history. I promise you. I'm fully prepared to say there will be no games in 2027. I'm prepared.
Wow, that would be really bad, man. Like, not only for the sport itself, but for people like us, man. I mean, what do we do? Like, just kumbaya the whole season until 2028?
Listen, we applaud what the Dodgers did up here. Don't get it misconstrued. I think what the Dodgers did is great. Makes no sense. They're not the only team. You know what? This comment.
Yeah, and that's what I've been hearing all off season long, actually.
There's no way that they're bad for baseball. You know why there's no way that they're bad for baseball? Because look at the revenue they're generating for baseball. It's just that these owners are cheap and refuse to match the salaries.
Rather than seeing it for a negative too, I think what the Dodgers are doing should also be seen as a positive as well, because they're exposing other teams in the simple fact that they can actually do the same as well, especially when you consider deferred payments, but teams just choose not to.
This part.
Luka running the NBA. What does he mean by that?
I think if you were being honest, I think that's another thing too that I'm not going to get into, but I think Emilio said something, lockout in 2027, 2028. Damn.
Right.
I think there's a possibility because look, yo, bro,
that would be long, dude. You guys got me thinking like worst case scenario now. I was just thinking lockout a few months. We got you saying maybe for the entirety of the year. Emilio saying possibly a year plus. Now, hold on now. We got to really get to the bottom of this. We got to come together. Yo, I don't want to see that. Like, I know I would hope it's going to be for the better of the game, right?
You know why?
I don't want to live through it, man. That's bad.
You know why I think it's going to happen, bro? Because they're not even coming to the table and negotiating now before the CBA expires. Like, if you really wanted to make a deal to even avoid this whole talk of a lockout, work stoppage, losing money, both teams you would think would be negotiating now. They're not even negotiating now, brother. They're just like, fuck it, let the clock expire. Let that shit hit triple zeros and we'll see you, Nick. We'll see you whenever. You know how crazy y'all sound? That sounds nuts.
Shrek is right. You see that comment there? He says we might be talking about cricket in 2 seasons. You're right, man. And
We gotta find something to talk about.
we're only a year into existing here with you guys and on YouTube. So
Listen, we'll find something to talk about, but
whole lot of watch-alongs. Just watch old games.
a bunch of shit. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, because look,
Because really think about it. During that period, especially if it's something that's going to last, I don't know, let's say 6 months to a year, there's going to be a long time where we just don't hear anything regarding baseball. Like not even a peep.
so this is what'll happen. All right, because I lived through the last one. What happened was they got in there, they negotiated for a week to 10 days. Shit got hot, curses, yelling, marathon sessions. You suck, you lied, fuck you. Right? They're gonna argue for about a week. Then tempers are gonna cool down, and then they're gonna go back in about 2 weeks, argue again some more, try to pull. See, this is the thing. The reason why I think this lockout was gonna be more comprehensive than the last one. Look at how many things are on the table. Right? You got the international market on the table. You got the television rights problem on the table that needs to be addressed. ESPN just opted out. You have these players not wanting a salary cap, but a lot of owners not being able to keep up with it. You have Major League Baseball falling back in terms of its popularity, in terms of being able to grasp fans on a global scale. Not even global, but America. Excuse me, domestically, they're struggling.
Especially the younger demographic, yeah.
Right, and so they got a lot of significant hurdles they got to get through, and the reality of it is that this ain't gonna be worked out in 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. Because if you're serious about it, this is gonna take about a year. I'm talking about new TV construction. I'm talking about players actually be willing to give in terms of having some sort of cap.
You're talking about a damn near brand new game at that point.
Financially, yeah.
Right.
Because let me ask you a question. Look at some of the players that are on the free agent market still. Just go through some of the names that are on the free agent market still. There's still some quality names on the free agent market that are older players that can still play. The middle class is getting squeezed. There ain't no middle class in baseball anymore. Look at how young these clubhouses are now. Remember when we were coming up as kids, there was always that grizzled old veteran that was like 34, 35. He was
or even dudes in their 40s, man. Like having a dude that was 40 years old on your roster wasn't a problem back then.
He was on your bench and he was just there to be,
But I also feel like we're seeing this in other sports too, because in the NBA, you got certain guys retiring sooner than they actually should be. But because of where the landscape of the game is currently at today as we speak, that's what we have to deal with.
And here's the thing. This is where I think baseball should form a partnership with Japan. They should form a partnership with some of these leagues where if some of these players don't get signed, you should be able to play in Japan or wherever you want to play for half a year. And if you put up decent numbers, you can come back to the big leagues because there's an agreement between the PA and Major League Baseball that allows you to come back and you don't have to sit out and wait to be signed. It's bad when a guy like Alex Bregman is one of the best players in the game. This guy waited to spring training to sign a contract.
Yeah.
That's horrible. That just goes to show you right there that if you're not the top of the top dudes, if you're not the Ellie De La Cruzes, if you're not those guys that are those guys, what money are you making? Right? And so, and then you know what I hate too? And then we're going to get to your comments, and the last 30 minutes could be you guys is to do whatever you want, where we'll answer all your questions and stuff like that. But I hate that there's this public posturing of like, yo, you see this? They didn't do this. You see this? They lied to us. They said they were going to do that. Like Rob Manfred and Tony Clark having this public pissing match to see how big each other's unit is. I ain't got no time for that. Both of y'all got to come to, yo, the sport's in trouble. And you know how y'all both look crazy in the face? This is the highest rate. This is the highest revenue that baseball has brought in the last 10 seasons. They made more money with crowds, people going to games. The television ratings were up. And you're going to throw it all away because you can't. Millionaires are fighting billionaires over more money than the average American will ever see in their entire lifespan. Is this what you're telling us? Is this what you're telling Cash, Emilio, Shrek, all the people that love the game? Is that what you're saying to them? Is that we don't give a fuck about you because the economics takes precedent over the game and the health and the growth of the sport overall? My answer to you and my answer to that is what the fuck? That's just the answer to that's the question. What do we do? When do we start to realize that you are killing your own product? You're killing your own product. End of rant.
I think it could not have been said any better than that. As we said, we're going to get into comments. But before we do that, make sure you guys go ahead and follow us on both Instagram and TikTok now. We are on TikTok for those of you who have TikTok. So make sure you go ahead and follow us at 27outs 3C. And shout out to all of you who are watching right now. Hit that thumbs up button if you have not already done so. It goes a long way. And if you're new here, I'm Ivan. That's Stefan. Welcome to 27 Outs Live on this lovely Wednesday night. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Sure. And again, we've said this already, I believe, on the last show and the show before then as well. So it's been 2 shows in a row, with this being the third one, I would say now. March 3rd, that's next Monday. We are going to be celebrating the 1-year anniversary here on 27 Outs. So make sure you guys are here. Make sure you share the link, let your friends know. And we're going to be here. We want to have some fun. Obviously, baseball at the end of the day, but, some fun mixed in between, too.
First of all, there's 9 of y'all in here right now. Can I get a 9 in the chat from the 9 of you guys that are in here right now?
Mm-hmm.
Just throw a quick 9 in the chat real quick. There's 9 of y'all in here. Know what I mean?
We got a little less than 30 minutes left here with you guys. So listen, you guys lead the way. Leave your comments.
Yeah,
what do you want to talk about? It doesn't necessarily have to be about something that we talked about tonight, because that's what we spent the last hour and a half here doing.
Hey, yo.
Hey, Shrek, that counts. That counts, man. I hope you're not talking about the rapper, because those days are over.
Or the other thing. Hey, yo.
Hey, I like that, Cash. Turn the 6 upside down. It's a 9 now. Drake said that. Let me not get all hyped, because here I say the word Drake or Strowman, they want to eat me alive. Yes, Shrek, I'm talking about you.
Listen, throw a 10. Big up yourselves. There's 10 people in here right now. Throw a 10 in the chat, man. This is big. This is big. Listen, to the 10 people watching, bring anything you want to the table right now, and we'll answer whatever questions you guys may have.
Right. Anything that you may have seen in a spring training game, now that games are underway finally.
By the way, does somebody want to tell Dominic Smith it's not 2016 and he doesn't have to hit home runs? You see the 2 home runs he hit this spring training?
I haven't missed him. I didn't see them, no.
Jesus Christ. He hit a ball today over the mezzanine in right field. And I'm like, somebody wants a shot. Somebody wants it. That swing is looking good, too. Lefty, Yankee Stadium. Ooh.
That's right. I almost forgot that the Yankee, it was a minor league deal that they
minor
gave him,
league
right?
deal for Dom Smith. Ooh, that swing is looking. Ooh.
Yeah.
This is funny. This is funny.
Mike Trout is going to win the MVP. I don't know if he'll win anymore, but could I possibly see a top 3 finish again? Yeah.
I just want a healthy season from Mike Trout, because Mike Trout being healthy is good for the game.
Yeah.
You know what Mike Trout being healthy also does is raises trade value. If you're
Right.
healthy, then you become tradable because people know you're gonna be on the field.
The good thing about Mike Trout is he's a player who he's just gonna do him whether he's got the talent around him or not. He's just that good.
He's gonna be that guy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Cash Drake having one down year doesn't erase his whole career. So here's how I see it as a Drake fan, right? And Stefan, I've told you this. When it comes to hip hop, rap, like that genre, it's an L, no matter how you look at it when it comes to Drake, right? But when it comes to just music, right? When you take a step back and you just talk about music and the business that they're in, I don't think Drake's L was really that bad after all. But for the type of music that he makes and the people that he's trying to cater to, it was huge. Don't get me wrong. And I'm saying that as a fan. I have to admit it. Otherwise, I'd be talking out of my ass.
by the way, I can't. What are you talking about here, bro? Come on, bro. Why are we even putting this juju out there?
Hell to the no, bro.
Why you know what, man?
Yo, Shrek, you better hope your boy Bobby Wood is A-okay. I mean, I know you guys probably aren't worried about that, but I'm just saying because of what
to the no, hell to the no, hell to the no.
Just gotta play that because you out here wilding. What are you even talking about, my boy? Damn. Nah, listen, it doesn't negate his entire career, but it does make me look at him differently. Because
you might just have to do that, honestly. You see what Cash is there? Drake and R&B doing future type numbers. Yo, Drake, I mean, who knows? He might just have to just be a full-time singer. All I care about is money and the city that I'm from. He just might have to stay in that lane, bro. I'm just saying, bro. Because that's how, again, speaking of hip-hop, rap, like, I don't think anybody, maybe certain fans are going to be naive. I'm not that type of Drake fan, clearly. But you got to be honest. It was tough if he's going to be looking to remain in that lane.
This part.
True. Especially those playoff tickets, man. Boy, are they crazy.
You know, I know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know. We was outside for them things, bro.
Yeah, man. October was fun. You know, October was fun with the playoff games that we went to, but also here on the channel. I don't know how many of you were around here at the time, but that was a great month for 27 outs.
Oh, Uncle Leo with the heat. What's up, brother? It's been a long time. Welcome back, man. Welcome back.
Welcome, Leo. It's good to have you as always. I really wish TD, Sox fan for life, were here because you would have heard it from a fan's mouth themselves, but
so I'm gonna try and answer this the best way that I can. I think at this point, you just hope that both players produce and they are able to stay healthy and give you full seasons. Now, honestly, I think the Red Sox should take their base out of Rafael Devers' hands and just make him the full-time DH.
Right.
Like, I think the Red Sox need to protect the player from himself. Because at that point, if we're going to sit here and have a conversation as to what's best for the Boston Red Sox, what's best for the Red Sox is that he doesn't see third base.
By the way, for those, I do want to say this too, since you brought that up, Leo. For those of you who are not following us on Instagram at 27ounce3C, I put up a clip of, you know, that whole thing with actually, no, my mistake, on our TikTok.
The TikTok.
TikTok, and in the caption, I had specified that Rafael Devers actually has the most errors in Major League Baseball since 2017.
It's 141, was it not?
That's a problem. 141, right? That's a problem.
141.
I mean, like, why? And I get it. That's their franchise player. But other than that, like, why are the Boston Red Sox even giving this guy leeway to even be able to open his mouth to say like, "Oh, I'm a full-time third baseman and nothing else because I said so."
There's gonna be
go back to making your damn errors at third base.
There's gonna be a show about this, so we're not gonna give those
Yeah.
quite yet because we're gonna do a whole show breaking that down. Also, guys, we just want to let you know we know it's really early. There's gonna be an opening day show, March 27th. It's a Thursday, so anywhere between 8 and 8:30, there will be an opening day show. But before that, this anniversary show is gonna be lit, so we're gonna get into more of this stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier today, and obviously I don't know how it's gonna play out, especially with the chat now. But we have so many of you. You know what's crazy, man? And we're gonna get more into this on Monday, of course, for the 1 year anniversary. But you know, I don't want to sound cliche or anything like that. And you might hear, you know, me say or use the word cliche more on Monday, but guys, realistically speaking, man, a year ago this time, you know, we didn't put any content out on the channel just yet, but it did exist. And I look back at, you know, what the chat was like, the amount of viewers were at the time. And Stefan, you could attest to this. It was damn near non-existent, you know?
Yeah.
So 1 year later to really see, like right now, we have 11 of you guys in here, you know, for about maybe a month and a half, 2 months now. You guys have kept the chat rocking literally every single video. I don't even know what else to say, bro. You know, I know this is only the beginning. And like I said, it sounds cliche, but I really want to give you guys acknowledgement.
You guys deserve your flowers. Yeah, man.
You know, without you guys being active in the chat, without giving a thumbs up to all of our videos and all of the above, bro, we wouldn't even be having a 1 year anniversary show probably, right?
Thank you. Yeah, that really means a lot. And the thing that's beautiful is, listen, you guys are not supporters and just fans. You guys are family. You know, when we say join the family, come in and join the conversation, that's not a cliche for us. We look at you guys like family because a lot of it is, this is what we wanted to build when we brought this channel together. You can have fans and supporters, but it's different when it's a family, when it's a close-knit group, when you guys are in here week after week, show after show, you show out, you're in here for 2 hours, hour and a half, however long you stay for, and you make your impact like that. That really means a lot to us, man. So to 11 of y'all in here, throw an 11 up in the chat, man. Big up yourselves, man. And I saw a 12 flickering a couple minutes ago. So listen, before we get on out of here, man, let's try and get this to let's get this to I don't know about that. There's a guy by the name of Corbin Burns that's pitching in Arizona that might have something to say about that. So
I don't think so. Cash, last year, believe it or not, because you know we were already putting content out when it was time to like make predictions prior to the season beginning. I believe I chose Yamamoto as my NL Rookie of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. He and Blake Snell are not no Cy Young predictions for me. I'll tell you that much. Like Stephen said, we're gonna get into that stuff in a future video. But just to answer what you said there, not for me, bro. Not for me. Sorry.
His argument? No, it wasn't. It wasn't on a crossword, but it might have. It should have been because I used it a lot today. So yeah.
Yo, you know what's funny, Shrek? Great question, by the way. But it shows that you're paying attention and you're listening. You know, you wouldn't be able to ask a question like that if you weren't here and you know enjoying the show right along with us.
That's funny. That's funny. To the 12th person that's in here, let us know who you are, man. We don't bite.
What I do want to ask too, now that we are gearing up for, I guess what would be like a season 2 now of 27 outs. What are some of the things? Because we obviously are going to go into Monday with our fair share of things that we want to talk about with you guys. But what do you guys want us to talk about on that 1 year anniversary show? Whether it be a Q&A with us, literally about anything, or maybe you guys telling us more about yourselves, because we don't know too much about you guys, right? And I'm not trying to say I want you like your social or anything. But you know, a couple of guys, they've said a thing or two about themselves, and it's interesting. You know, like shout out to Sox Fan for Life, not here tonight. But then again, he could show up any minute now, so who knows? But
he could pop up. You out here saying he's not in here. He's about to.
yeah. Why you say that?
Why? Why you say that?
By the way, Shrek, I did look it up. Yeah, it's
he got some serious growth happening over there. Yeah.
You know what's funny, man? This dude is only 26 years old, but he's got the stash of like a dude in his like 50 to 60s.
Damn. No, I'm not bitter, bro. Like if somebody wins the Cy Young for the Dodgers, they would have earned it. I'll be the first one to say, yo, good luck with that Cy Young. You guys pitched great.
What I will say about the Dodgers, I wouldn't be surprised if Ohtani wins another MVP. I see that being possible
at some point, yeah.
Or maybe even this season, especially since he's going to be able to pitch again.
Yeah, he might. You're right. You're right.
So I'll give you that, Cash, but I can't go all out with the Dodgers.
Nah,
when it comes to the awards.
Yeah, that's a little crazy. We're not just gonna make it Dodger centric. This is a baseball show.
Yeah, and then again, too, man, like the awards, I kind of feel like should be the least of their worries now. Like the only award that really matters is just
trying to win a World Series. Yeah,
yeah. Like let's get this dynasty rolling. Let's win 3 out of like 4, 3 out of 5. Yeah. Let's go to like 5 out of 7 straight World Series. Like something crazy. Like
with the money you put into this team, that should be the goal.
Right.
That should be the goal. Yeah. You love South Furtick, huh? I mentioned South Furtick at least a few times.
Shrek, he mentions players, man, and I'm like, dude, who is this? So the names do look familiar. But for certain guys, I gotta be able to put a face to the name when I do see you say that in the chat, Shrek. And I immediately look at the numbers and I'm like, why? Why are we doing this to ourselves?
He's doing it because he got you to look it up, and he don't got. He just amuses himself. He just amuses himself. Oh, thank you guys. We gained a sub tonight, so we're at 172 now. So big up to you guys for that. That's big time. That needs that needs a little bit of love. So thank y'all, man. That's what I like to see, man. I mean, I got a question for y'all, man. If you guys could put together the all Miss Blue Jay team, because all the players that the Blue Jays wanted and didn't get, how far could you get with a team? They wanted Soto. They didn't get him. They wanted Bellinger. They didn't get him. They wanted Ohtani. They didn't get him. They wanted help me out, Ivan. They missed on a few guys this year too. They wanted
who else were they in on?
They talked about Bregman. They didn't get him. They tried to re-sign Vladdy. They didn't get that done.
Yeah, I know it's been happening for a couple seasons now. I'll say that much.
Yamamoto they wanted. They didn't get him. Sasaki they wanted. They didn't get him.
And it sucks too, man, because when the Blue Jays are in the playoffs and they're rocking, man,
that stadium is
do you remember the days when they had Jose Bautista?
I still remember the home run he hit on in the playoffs in 2015. The building was doing this when he hit the home run.
The Rangers, yeah.
The camera was going up and down. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man.
Yo.
And it's been a while since we've been in, because I kind of feel like the Blue Jays thought they were gonna be able to get back to that with like all these
they were gonna replicate. They thought they were gonna replicate it, yeah.
But not even close, man. Like that team offensively was insane, dude. Josh Donaldson when he was in his prime.
Russell Martin was the catcher.
Yeah, man. Just really good players. Really good players.
I
Listen,
remember.
I'm not a Blue Jays fan, but
Me
the way
neither. But
things get when they're good,
they had a good team.
I like watching games just to see like how
And
the crowd reacts.
that city was jumping in Toronto too. Yeah, they were jumping out there. Yeah. Like when Toronto's good and you got a whole country. So that's a different level of pride. It ain't just the people in Toronto, it's the whole country of Canada. You know what I mean? On some like, yo, we
The
come
crazy
together.
part is now, how long is it going to take from now, especially since they have to move on from Vladdy? It's going to take even longer now.
Mm-hmm. But that's why they should have traded him and they didn't do it. Yo, by the way, I want to go back to the Angels for a minute because I think the Angels are going to be a solid team this year. I don't think they make the playoffs, but they're going to be decent. They signed some players.
Well, yeah, they did.
Travis d'Arnaud, they Kenley signed with them. They brought in Yon Moncada. They brought in who else? They brought
Jorge Soler, I think.
Jorge Soler is there now.
Yeah.
You say Kikuchi's in Anaheim now.
Yeah.
Ben Joyce is probably going to be the closer. Like I like the Angels. They got a team.
Right.
I like Zach Nato at shortstop. I want to see what it looks like for what's the first baseman's name? The left-hander.
In
Anaheim. The left-hander. The first baseman. He had
top of my head.
He was decent last year. Shudell was his name?
Nolan Schnuel? That guy.
Yeah. He can hit a little bit. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like they got some players in Anaheim now. They're gonna be able to hit a little bit. I like the Angels.
Yeah, Anaheim, man. I feel bad for them, man. I kind of feel like they've run into some bad luck over the years, and I'm going pretty far back when I say that. When it comes to, because they're not afraid to spend money.
No, but they got
who
burnt.
they give the money
They
to.
got burnt by. They got burnt by.
Blows up right in front of their face.
C.J. Wilson, Josh Hamilton, Albert.
Yeah, man. So many.
And
then now the one that we talk about almost every year now, Anthony Rendon.
Oh, Jesus.
Like he's just robbing them.
The Trout contract is bad too.
Yeah.
Trout contract is looking crazy right now.
Yeah. Trout from 30 to 40 is going to be very interesting.
You want to talk about ugly? Speaking of ugly, I'm a little worried about this Giancarlo Stanton situation. Did you read what's coming out of camp right now?
No, other than the fact that he's dealing with what he's dealing with. I haven't.
No, he's dealing with something personal. Like there's personal issues now. It's not even the elbows anymore. It's like,
oh, okay.
He's dealing with something that nobody even wants to comment on. Like when he comes back, if he wants to comment on it himself, he can. But we're not going to.
Right.
Like the Yankees won't even comment on it, which makes me believe that whatever he's dealing with seems to be significant enough for the Yankees don't even want to comment on it.
Wow.
Where I'm like, yo, what does this mean? What does it mean? You're gonna miss the whole season? Like, what are we doing? Like, and it's not even from what I'm being told. Like, yeah, he's dealing with the elbow stuff, but the elbow stuff is like at the back burner right now because they don't know when he's even gonna be back at camp. Which leads me to believe that this could either be something family related, probably, legal, something in the legal proceedings. And it's like, damn, like what's going on with you? And then when he comes back, how long is it going to take for him to get himself into playing shape?
Yeah, because he's an older. How old is Stanton now? 35?
35, yeah.
Yeah, he's an older guy.
Which leads me to believe, like, everybody's speculating that he's going to retire. He's not retiring. He's not leaving.
Really? I haven't heard that. I didn't think he would do that.
People are speculating that he might retire based on how serious this is, whether it's the personal nature of his issues. People are speculating that, more so fans, but fans are speculating that
That's an interesting question, Leo. I don't think so.
You're a Giant fan, aren't you? Not Leo.
Yeah, and no disrespect either. I just think we've seen the best of Justin Verlander, right? And I mean that in every way imaginable. One of the greatest pitchers of all time.
Yeah, but I think it's good that he's there. You know why?
Well, he said why.
he's a veteran presence that's just gonna allow these young pitchers to understand, like, yo, this is how you go about being a big league pitcher.
Well, that's not why he's doing it, because he already said why he's doing it. He wants to crack 250.
Where's he at now?
Is he? Let's see. Has he passed that yet?
You are a Giant fan, okay?
262. Sorry, so it's 300 that he wants to crack. Because I remember reading something about him saying, and we've heard this before, like in other sports too, where guys say, "Oh, I want to play until the age of 45," and I believe he wants to play until that age because he wants to be able to say that he cracked 300 wins.
Yeah, I don't think he gets to 300.
No, I don't think so either.
I think he gets to maybe like 270 and then rides off. But he said he wanted to pitch till he's 45 because he's very close. He was very close to a Nolan Ryan. So, but pitching to 45 in this day and age sounds crazy.
I don't. Well, why too? Like you done won Cy Young awards, multiple,
and
you
your
won
wife,
an MVP. You
your
got
wife
2 World
is
Series rings.
Your wife is hot as shit. Just go home and retire, bro. Like,
yeah, I always see people commenting on his wife. Like when I see a Justin Verlander post, they're always mentioning his wife. They don't stop.
Yeah. I had to turn the hat forward because I'm like, I was getting a little, it was like squeezing the front of my head. So I had to turn it forward. But yes, I am wearing a Met hat because we were talking about the Mets. So I wanted to remain topical. But we're going to play a little game in the future, though, guys, where you guys are going to have to guess the hat me and Ivan are wearing on the show because I'm still going to start to wear hats more often. So we're going to play a game called Guess the Cap. Know what I mean? So you guys are going to have to do that. But anyway, guys, any last minute questions or topics or anything like that? Because if not, we about to head on out of here, man.
Yeah, before we go, as Stefan mentioned, a couple minutes left before you wrap up. Thank you guys again for tuning in, not only tonight, but as I mentioned at the top of tonight's show, for getting our previous video to over 100 views in less than 2 days. Looking to do that more often moving forward, especially with the season right around the corner. And then you guys know the rest, man. Make sure you guys are telling your friends. Like, I'm sure you guys have people who you have baseball conversations with. So go ahead and make sure you tell us, tell them about us. And if there's anything that you want to like reference that came from us, tell them like, yo, I know about this show on baseball on YouTube. It's called 27 Now. You got to check them out. And most importantly, too, we love to interact with you guys. So if you guys know of any people who want to get their baseball takes out and really get into a conversation, right? Because that's what it is here at the end of the day. Invite them.
For sure, man. For sure. Anyway, guys, it seems like you guys are good. So we're gonna sign off. Have a great night, and we'll see you guys. Remember, we won't be back Sunday this week. It's Monday because we're doing the anniversary show. So
Monday.
We'll see you guys Monday night at.
You know what? I wanted to say this too. I haven't thought about it yet, but I'm gonna make sure I have something a little nice here on the side while we're recording that 1 year anniversary. I haven't thought if it should be wine or I don't know, maybe like a stronger like beer with a higher percentage. I don't know which route should I go.
I don't know. I might have, if I can find a Broken Skull IPA, I might bring the Broken Skull out. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I just thought about that. It hit me. I'm like, because I'm telling you guys, but at the same time, I want us to be on the same type of vibe, right?
Yeah.
So I got to put some thought into that over the week, and I got some time.
Yeah, me too. We got to text back and forth, see what we sipping on, man. Put these cups to good use. All right, guys, we out of here, man. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you guys Monday night.